Hey everybody, I'm back again. Hopefully by the time you're seeing this, it hasn't been over a week now. I don't know how it's going to be with editing this video, but I'm back with another video. So as you can tell by the title, I really kind of want to talk about the next Nintendo console. I've been hearing kind of a lot of rumors over the past few months of the Switch 2 or, you know, the Switch... what am I doing with my hands? The Switch Pro, the Super Switch, I don't know. There have been rumors floating around, and I kind of wanted to talk about it and give my input on what I would love to see from the next Switch, and kind of what I think we should see from the next Switch. So the way this video is going to work is I have things divided up into 3 different categories: hardware, UI, and then miscellaneous stuff that I thought could just be fun, that I really couldn't fit anywhere else. Within those categories, I have subcategories, which are things that I would like to see the most, things that I'm kind of in the middle, and then things that I really don't want to see, although I don't really have too many of those. I don't think I have any of those, actually. That's how it's going to go. And then I'm also just going to say how likely and how unlikely I think each thing is as I list them off. So I have my paper over here, actually. So I'm going to start at the top. So first up is hardware. This is in no particular order, by the way. The first thing I want to talk about for what I'd love to see the most out of a hardware sort of perspective on the Switch 2, which is what I'm going to be calling it, by the way, is more power. Now, I feel like this is kind of obvious, because, you know, you release a new console, you usually make it more powerful than the last one. So I think the Switch 2 definitely needs more power. Personally, I would really like to see maybe, you know, 60 FPS at least, like a consistent 60 FPS. I don't think I'm bothered by the 30 frames as much as a lot of other people are, but I definitely think at this point we should kind of have something that runs 60 frames. I think that's honestly quite likely. As I said, we've had a lot of time pass, and I'm sure they've been working on something. More chips have been coming out. There was actually, I gotta check my list over here. There was like a rumor, I believe, for like a new NVIDIA Tegra chip or something like that. That's one of the rumors that have been going around, actually, that kind of sparked the whole Switch 2 discussion. So I think that more power is obviously something we need. Next, I'd love to see a bigger screen. I mean, we have this on the OLED. I don't have the OLED personally, but considering that the OLED kind of gets rid of this bezel, I think that should be standard on the new Switches. Maybe an OLED screen as well, but I know that would probably raise the price more and make it maybe a little less consumer-friendly. I'm not too sure how the whole screen market is right now. I would love to see an OLED screen, but I wouldn't be surprised if they go with another screen like this just for the base model. I also think that's quite likely with how the OLED is with, you know, they got rid of the bezel. I think they're gonna... I think it'd be kind of weird if they brought it back. Another thing I'd really love to see are more colors, and not just for the Joy-Con. Obviously, I'd love to see more colors for these, and Nintendo, please restock just the dual neon colors. I don't know what they're doing, just please. I want to have 2 red Joy-Con. I have 2 blue, I want 2 red. I would love the green ones that were Best Buy exclusive for some reason. I want more colored Joy-Cons, but that being said, I think it'd be really cool if we could have more colored Switches as well. Maybe docks, the Switches themselves. I don't know if they're going to go for more premium feel, so maybe if they do that, just black and white, kind of like the Wii U. If they want to kind of make it a little more fun, I think it'd be cool to have, like, we could have maybe blue, a green backing, I don't know, yellow. I would just love more colors, more color options. I love customization when it comes to consoles, and I would just really love colors. I think this is likely, at least for the Joy-Cons. Maybe for the actual console, it's a little, maybe in between unlikely and somewhat likely. But, I would just love to see it. Last at the top of my most wanted is a padded dock. This is something you'd think would be a thing by now, with how many people were reporting scratches on the screen in like month 1 of the Switch, right? Now I have a screen protector on mine to kind of prevent that, but I don't have any dock shields or whatever they're called. I know people make them, but I really think at this point it should kind of be inside the dock. Maybe they could glue it on the inside. Just some kind of cushioning so we don't scratch the switches. So we don't scratch the Switches. I feel like that should kind of be necessary at this point, and I think it's somewhat likely. I would say it's likely, but it's weird. Nintendo's kind of weird sometimes, so I don't know what they're going to do with that, but I'm just going to put this at likely. So maybe hold me to that. Don't hold me to that. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of maybe likely. Now for just the in-between stuff that I would like to see, but honestly it's not super necessary for me. A better grip would be nice, obviously, and improved Joy-Cons. Now I know a lot of people have problems with the Joy-Con, with drifting and with just the way you hold them, and I know it can be kind of awkward. I mean, I feel it too, especially after kind of playing in handheld for a while. You kind of have to hold it with your pinky fingers. I think there needs to be something to kind of alleviate that. Maybe they could add sort of a bump down here so it kind of forms with your hand, so there's not that... I'm going to try to get it on camera, so there's not that strange gap there. I'm kind of exaggerating it, but that would definitely make things more comfortable. And obviously they need to get rid of the drift. The only reason I put this on a tier below what I'd love to see, and this is just something I'd only really like to see, and I'd be okay if it's not there, is I personally don't have too many problems playing with these. Although the drift does need to be gone. I personally haven't had a lot of issues with drift. I really hope I'm not jinxing it right now, but I know a lot of people have, and I know they need to kind of build these controllers a little better. Another thing that is kind of just wanted for me, but I'd be okay without, is 4K support for 4K TVs for docked mode. But I feel like when you're going to release a Switch 2, which, by the way, I'm assuming that's what it is, I feel like at this point, with all the other consoles offering at least 4K resolution, I feel like we kind of need 4K resolution. I think this is somewhat likely as well, because, you know, at this point, we're in 2023, and the Switch is about 6 years old, so I feel like they'll probably... I feel like it'd be weird to not work on it. Alright, so now I'm going to move on to firmware / UI stuff, and again, we're going to start out at the top of my list for most wanted stuff. One of the things I think is absolutely necessary for the firmware of the Switch 2 is backwards compatibility. With how popular this thing is, and how many games people have, I mean, you can see my collection back there. People are going to want to buy a Switch 2, obviously. I mean, again, I'm assuming it's a Switch 2, I kind of hope it is. You never know with Nintendo. With how many games people have on this thing already, they'd be kind of shooting themselves in the foot in a way if they didn't offer backwards compatibility. I feel like it would make no sense at all, starting from the ground up, basically, with a new console. It would be a really hard sell for a lot of people, and I think this is absolutely necessary, and this is at kind of the top of my list for firmware. I also think it is highly likely for that reason. I think they know if they didn't do that, a lot of people wouldn't buy the next console. Another thing I'd really love to see, and this is missing with honestly a lot of the current gen consoles, is themes. Now, the Switch, when the Switch first came out, we saw, obviously, themes. We thought, oh, they're going to add more to the eShop, kind of like the 3DS. That's going to be awesome. And 6 years later, we have 2 color options. Especially because the 3DS had themes. I find it kind of weird that the Switch doesn't have themes. So I would love to see themes come back in some sort of form. Whether it's, you know, a similar UI to the Switch we have now, or like an overhauled UI, and we could have more kind of interesting themes than just a background picture. I would love to see themes come back, and I think this is somewhat likely, but it's kind of shaky because of how weird every single company has been with themes. I'm hopeful that it could happen, but I would love to see it. Another thing I really want to see, and I feel like it's kind of necessary, is an improved eShop, because the one that we have now is kind of running on the web browser, as far as I know, and I feel like they need to work on that as well. I'm just going to list this off real quick. Integrated eShop. I think it's somewhat likely, especially if it's an overhauled UI. I think maybe they'll do it. PlayStation did it, so I hope that Nintendo kind of takes a note from that and has a kind of integrated eShop that you don't have to use the web browser for, so it doesn't lag all the time. Another thing I'd love to see, and something that I miss a lot from the 3DS days, is Street Pass. I would love to see a feature like Speed Pass. I would love to see a feature like Street Pass return. I miss it a lot, man. It was always fun kind of bringing your 3DS out with you and getting all these little connections, and that's kind of something that's been missing on this generation of Nintendo consoles. And I really hope that they could bring something like that back. I think that'd be really cool. And I think that that is honestly, unfortunately, unlikely, especially with the way they're kind of targeting their newer consoles. They want them to be more you know, mature as we saw from the Switch reveal 6 years back, and as we've been seeing with the lack of eShop music, the lack of themes, just a very basic, kind of sleek, modern console. But I would love to see Street Pass at least come back. Now this idea I love. This is an idea I came up with, and I thought it was really cool. I'm gonna start out by saying it's kind of honestly somewhat unlikely, but I really want to talk about it anyway. Maybe if I get it out there, somebody will see it. Maybe the right person will see it, who knows. But one thing that I'd love to finally see on Nintendo consoles are trophies or achievements. I think it'd be really cool to have a dedicated trophy list on the Switch per game. But here's the cool idea I had, and I actually have to pull up my other paper for this. So give me 1 minute. So I found my paper. I think it'd be really cool if they had some sort of reward system integrated within the trophies, and this could tie into my next point as well, so I'm going to kind of give a 2-in-1 here. But I think it would be really cool if, like PlayStation, we had 3 tiers of trophies. We could have something, obviously maybe don't use these names, but we could have like bronze, silver, and gold. And then maybe like a special 100% trophy, similar to platinum. But I think it'd be really cool if each trophy gave out a certain amount of points, kind of like PlayStation and Xbox do. But I would love to see these points have a use. Maybe they could give out a small amount of platinum points for My Nintendo per trophy, because they kind of have this system in place already for their mobile games. Or maybe they could come up with like a special kind of currency that trophies give out. Bronze trophies give out the least amount, gold gives out the most, and then, you know, the platinum would give out, I guess, actually the most. And then we can use these points to unlock sort of cosmetics for profiles, and this is my next point. So I think it'd be really cool to have custom profiles, and we could use these points we earn to buy things to customize our profiles with. So as we kind of have it right now, you can buy icons with My Nintendo points. So maybe something similar like that, where you could buy icons, you could buy maybe frames, you could buy backgrounds for your profile or headers, badges maybe. I think this could be a really fun system if done right, and a very Nintendo thing to do. I would love to see this. I don't know how likely it is, but honestly it's at the top of my list for the kind of UI stuff. On that same note, actually, with profiles, I would love to see an improved friends list. Maybe we could have some sort of integrated messaging system and parties. I know this is kind of unlikely, I'm going to say that right now, I'll put that at unlikely. But I think it'd be really cool to see this. I mean, it's kind of inconvenient using the app, and most people use Discord anyway. So I think this whole idea as a whole would be really cool. Now as a whole, it's maybe somewhat likely, in between unlikely to somewhat likely. But I don't know, maybe trophies could be somewhere likely. I don't know, that's honestly something I would love to see, and it's an idea I came up with a few weeks ago, and I thought it was really cool, and just really wanted to share it. The next are the things more in the middle, things that are just kind of I would want to see, but I could do without. So I think it'd be cool to see badges make a return from the 3DS days. I really love collecting the badges and just kind of pinning them to the home screen. And this could kind of tie into my last point. Maybe we could pin them to our profile instead. I think it's somewhere in between unlikely and somewhat likely, just because we've had them before, but because they were scrapped once before, I could see them not making a return. Another thing that I'm kind of just okay with if they have or not are folders. I know this is a big thing a lot of people want, and don't yell at me in the comments, right? I think folders are kind of necessary. Personally, I'm okay without them because I don't really use them a lot on console, which is funny because like on my computer and my phone, everything's in a folder. But I know a lot of people want them, and the systems we have now are kind of not okay. That being said, I think it's... Shit, what did I write? I think it's somewhere in between somewhat likely and likely. I mean, we've had them before, which is why it's somewhat likely. But, you know, companies are weird with these things now, so I wouldn't be surprised to not see them at launch, basically. Oh shit, I forgot to write down that stuff. So another thing I actually forgot to mention, and this is actually kind of at most wanted, is I'd love to see better media support on the next Switch. Personally, I'd love to have Spotify on my Switch, or Switch 2. Be able to play my own music. Maybe when you hold down the home button... There go my papers. Maybe when you hold down the home button, it could bring up this kind of media menu, where you could have all the basic stuff, and then below that, you could have the media. So you could have something like Spotify there. So I'd love to see basically more options for media. I think that's somewhat likely. I mean, it's on the other two consoles. I'm not sure how Nintendo would feel about it. It'd also be nice to have Discord on the Switch as well, but at least Spotify and a little better media support. Alright, so that wraps up all of the UI stuff, and now I want to get on to probably my favorite category that I saved for last. And I'm calling this one the more unhinged slash kind of fun ideas I've come up with. And this one isn't going to be sorted in most likely to least likely or most wanted to least wanted, because I think these are just fun ideas that could make the Switch 2 a lot of fun. One thing that I would love to see, and I know I'm contradicting myself, but I would love to see this, are accessories for the Joy-Con. Now, I remember there were, I don't know if it was concept art going on, or if, I think it was actually this thing, like this prediction that somebody had for the Switch. But I remember back in late 2016, there was this art going around where somebody actually drew, I think it was actually this after the Switch was announced, but they drew Joy-Con-like accessories that you could slide into the Switch. I remember one of them was like a fishing pole, one of them was like a camera for a Pokemon Snap game, and I think something like that was honestly a huge missed opportunity with the Switch 1, and it's something that they should definitely visit in the successor. I think it could lead to a lot of fun games and a lot of fun kind of accessories that you could just have for your Switch. And on that same note, actually, I think it'd be very interesting if Nintendo kind of had their own answer to the Xbox Elite controller and the PlayStation, I'm forgetting what it's called, the Pro, the DualSense Pro. If they had their own kind of response to that, but with Joy-Con. Now, I could see them doing this in a couple of different ways. Obviously, they could have it so you could just pop out the thumbsticks, pop out the buttons, and put in your own. And I know this would actually solve a lot of people's problems they had. The whole directional D-pad problem people had. That's one solution. Now, another solution I thought of, which might be a little over the top, but I thought is kind of cool, is they could really kind of hone in on the whole Switch... I don't know what I'm doing. Switch. They could really hone in on the whole sliding in thing, and they could separate these controllers into segments. So you could have the button segment and the stick segment. And you can actually, this is the idea I came up with, you could hold a button on the controller, slide that piece out, and slide in another piece of the controller. So you have, say, I don't know, you can have a D-pad down here now, or you can have, if you want, another analog stick up here and buttons down here. Joystick, not analog stick. I also think it'd be interesting if they kind of did something like a way to switch out these triggers, because I know some people prefer the analog triggers over the, I think, digital they're considered. Personally, they don't bother me that much, but another solution that I kind of thought of is they could just kind of have triggers similar to the GameCube where you push them down, and then when you hit a certain point, then they click. But I think it'd be cool to be able to honestly swap out buttons or slide out buttons and slide out sticks and be able to kind of customize your controller in that way. Another kind of crazy idea that I kind of saw and kind of thought about and came up with my own version is tablets that slide into each other. Now I know that, I forget which Mario Party game used this, but you can put your tablets next to each other, drag a line, and then they actually connect. And I thought it'd be kind of cool if you can connect tablets on their own. And I came up with a really weird way of doing it. So maybe you can have hinges on the top and bottom of the tablets that kind of come apart? I don't know what I'm doing here. They kind of flip out, and then you could slide another tablet in there. And for the sides, you can maybe have this weird dual-sided, just this part of the Joy-Con, but it's dual-sided, so you slide it in, and then you have another part sticking out on the other end, and then you slide another dock in. I know this idea is kind of insane, and most likely will never happen, but I think it could be kind of fun. There was another idea I saw that I kind of got this idea from, where somebody thought maybe you could have the screen divided into 4 segments, and a base Switch 2 would come with 4 segments. You could slide them together however way you want, and you could kind of buy extra little squares about this big that you could slide into those and make a screen as big as you want. I think that would be kind of cool, but it would be annoying having the whole cross on there, the whole cross section between all the screens. Although I do think it would be kind of cool if they kind of utilize connecting screens in a way, because then you can have these really creative ways to connect screens and play games in different ways. Maybe they could have a weird clamshell kind of thing where you slide it on the bottom and then it closes. I know I'm making like the DS20 here. I don't know what I'm talking about, man. Alright, so the last idea I had for the kind of crazy fun things that we could have with the next Switch is actually an accessory kind of like the Wii U, to be honest. So basically, here is my thought process. You take the Switch, you put it in the dock, and it's on the TV, and then you have another touchscreen, maybe it's like this big, it could be tiny, it could be like a little square. You slide it into the Joy-Cons, you connect it to the Switch, and you use it as a touchscreen. And I think this would be cool only so we could have DS Virtual Console, or Wii U backwards compatibility, maybe? Or, I guess at this point it would have to be Virtual Console because they're using cartridges. Mainly, I just had this idea so we could have DS games on the TV and on the Switch. I think that would be kind of cool. I know it would be a bit pricey because it'd be another touchscreen, but maybe it could be similar to the DS touchscreen, so it's not super high quality. I forget what it's called. It's like capacitive or something like that. So it could be more like the DS bottom screen. It could come with a stylus, and I think it could open up a lot of possibilities for games like that as well. Another solution to this, which honestly just came to me now, is we could have some sort of wireless receiver maybe, so you connect it to the Switch too, and then you take the other end of the receiver and you slide it into the dock. And then somehow, through some sort of coding, this screen would show the touchscreen part of the game, and the TV would show the top screen in a way. And then that would be probably a cheaper solution to this. I think either would be really cool. But you could see why I put these in the sort of unhinged category. So yeah, those are all my ideas for the kind of hypothetical Switch 2 that is potentially coming out next year, which is really weird to think about. So that's everything I'd love to see out of the next Switch. I think a lot of these ideas could be really cool, and I really hope to see a lot of them in the next console. But honestly, if it's a more powerful Switch with some sort of new gimmick or cool fun feature, I'd just be happy with that too. But I'd love to hear what you guys think we could see out of the next Nintendo console. I mean, maybe it's not even going to be another Switch, which would be kind of crazy. I think they should stick to the Switch because of how popular it is even still. But who knows? I'm really excited for the future of Nintendo, especially after how much fun this thing is. And I really can't wait to see what we get, hopefully next year. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on what you'd love to see out of the next Nintendo console. Maybe what you wouldn't love to see as well. So that's it for this video. I had a lot of fun doing this, so expect more videos kind of in this similar fashion. Hopefully soon I should be getting the Too Many Games vlog up. I'm going next week, a week from tomorrow actually. So expect that soon. I've got a couple more videos in the pipeline, so stay tuned for those. I am going to keep a consistent schedule. I don't want to promise anything, but I will try my best. So I will see you guys next video. You know, maybe we could also get, maybe a little bit of, I don't know, maybe we could get a certain game on the next console. You know, I'm a moderate fan of, I'm a moderate fan of, you know, I'm somewhat of a fan of these games. I don't know, I think it'd be really cool to just kind of have like a certain game. We could have the whole trilogy. Oh my god, certain game. I wonder what game I could be talking about. I don't know what that was. I'm sorry. Maybe when you home the